Today's video is going to contain some graphic content for educational purposes. It is the butchering of a goat, and that is all that's in this whole video. So if that bothers you, skip this one. If you're here for it, let's go. Hey y'all, Amy here. Welcome back to the farm. Today we are butchering a goat. Now this is the first time Brian's done a goat. He has done deer his whole life and it's basically the same thing. So I'm going to make a video, show y'all how he does the goat, which also is how you do a deer. So let's get started. All right, what are we doing today?
We are processing a goat. This is a wether. So he was castrated when he was little. That's why you don't see nothing here.
He's a large La Mancha.
Yes. So a little bigger than a Florida deer. He probably weighs around 160 pounds. It's kind of difficult putting in the back of the side-by-side. So,
can you first tell me how you did it?
So, I got a scoop of feed and lured it to the fence. And this one was used to being led around with a leash and a collar. So I just put a leash around him, walked him out, put a little feet on the ground so his head's down, and placed the bullet behind the ear towards the front, towards like the head.
What size did you use?
I used a 9mm. This one doesn't have a big horns on it. If you get a male goat that's got big horns, it's going to be a lot thicker skull, so that's why you don't shoot in the front.
And what would you do if you wanted to save the head for mounting?
You could shoot it like a deer.
Which would be where? Can you show me?
So the heart and the lungs are going to be right here in this area behind the shoulder. We wanted to save the meat on this one. That's why we shot here. You could probably shoot it there too. It did not have an exit wound, so you definitely don't want to shoot it in the front unless you want a hole in your mount.
Okay.
But a couple tools we're using. You're going to have a skinning knife. This is one of my favorite skinning tools because it has a blunt end, so it just goes up underneath the skin. It also has a blade where you can skin, but this is made by Outdoor Edge. It's called a swing blaze. It's on the Amazon store. And then we will use a gut hook after we skin it. So this is the gut hook part. And then for the bones, we use an old Sawzall. This is a multi-purpose blade. It's small teeth. I helped some friends the other day do a pig, and it got jammed up with fat. So we grabbed a wood blade, which has bigger teeth, and that did a lot better. So you probably could use any blade, honestly. You're not cutting a whole lot. So just like we did on the pig, and like you would do on a deer, the back legs, you got the bone portion, and there's a tendon back here. So you can just run your fingers between it and find out where it's at. I cut a little closer to the bone. You just go all the way through just to make an incision on both sides so you can put your gamble on it.
Tell us what that's called again.
It's a gamble. It's made for hanging animals. They come in different sizes. This one slides, so the further up you go, the narrower it gets, which is ideal for pigs until you cut here and they widen out for you.
Okay.
This one might do the same thing because it's still got some room to go.
Okay. So anyway, you hang it?
Yep.
And
so
then what?
I already hung it. We have a large wash tub to catch all the contents so it's not on the ground. And I'm going to start here so it's easier. So that way when we start skinning down, we get here, we don't have to fight with this later. So right in the joint, we're going to go around. It's cold outside, so you want to make sure we keep this clean or it'll all get sticky. So if you're by yourself, you can leave the foot on for now so you can hold it. Get under here. If it'll get under the skin. Once it gets under there, it just run it straight up. And then we'll skin that out here in a second. This is our first time doing a goat, so I'm hoping it'll go similar to a deer. Read a couple books, or I should say a book, and watched a couple videos. So, in my opinion, if you can skin a deer, you can skin anything. We're just going to do the same thing to the other side. After you get it skinned out, you can go ahead and take the front legs off. If you're real good, you can get it between the joint and just twist it. It'll come off. But I don't do this for a living. That's why we use a saw. So do not cut this tendon or it will fall. So we're carefully going to go in here. I'm going to skin around it, and then we're going to go down to the middle, both sides. And down the middle. Fat. What are you feeding these things? Now we're going to work our way down around the legs and the butt, trying to stay close to the skin. Don't want to mess up the meat. So I decided to pull, and it's coming off pretty easy. So we're just going to pull. When you get around the butthole, it's going to be stretched. So you're trying to get it come loose. And then when we get down to the tail, I will show you what we do there. Down. So that's the bone right there. We're going to attempt to get between one of those joints. So I tried to get up under it because it was a little harder than what I'm used to, but I just snatched it and it came loose. So there's the tail. If we're lucky, it should go right off once we get around this leg. So when it's hanging off something like this, it's much easier if two people are here, somebody can hold it so it doesn't spin on you. They do make devices that are shaped like an X, and you throw the animal in the V part on top with the legs up, and you can do everything at like waist high, so it prevents it from spinning. But we don't have that. I find this to be a lot easier. Also, we hang it by the back legs, so the insides get caught in the rib cage until you're ready to deal with that part. You can hang it from the head, it's a preference. A lot of people do hang it from the head. This is just the way we do it. So if this was a female, you'd have the udder area here, a lot of fat. Since this is a male, you gotta deal with this. I'm just gonna try and cut it loose. All that should just come to the front. Okay. A lot more fat on the goat than a deer, for sure.
What do you do when you get to a male's belly area?
Well,
Just cut it?
we could split down the middle and peel it from the sides. I found it to be a lot easier when you do pigs that way because it's a lot tougher. It's more manageable to take it off in pieces. But I'm just gonna go down there.
Why do you roll the hide inward?
So you grab hold of it.
It gives you something dry to hang on to. Because if this was a little bit warmer, this would be like touching oil. So if I'd have been thinking before we started videoing, I always have to think about what I'm saying instead of just doing it. When we start, we would have taken the head off right behind the skull, so we'd have to fight with it when we get down here. But just take a sharp knife, go all the way around as far as you can. If you're lucky, you'll get it between the vertebrae, and you can just take the head off, just spin it. I've only done that a handful of times, so we'll just probably take this all to it. So we're gonna keep working it down. The reason we went ahead and skinned the front legs is so we can just peel it over it. Every animal I've ever skinned, when you get to the neck, it's difficult. So you might have to skin that part out the best you can. We might split it here and just do it around it like we do a leg. So that's why it's still hanging. Otherwise, it all would have been done by now. Now we're going to hose it off, try and clean it, and then we'll start gutting it. Now we're going to cut here so we can get this exposed, and then we're going to cut on both sides of the hip so we can get the rectum and everything pulled forward to go out with the guts. It's all crunchy. It's cold outside. So you don't want to cut right in the center. You want to cut a little bit on both sides. Save as much meat as you can, but you don't want to get it dirty either. I can trim this meat off this bone later. So you cut back here, there's another one a little bit further. You don't want to go too far because then they call it an H bone that goes across here. If you cut too far though, you'll separate the back legs, and that's not what we want yet.
And you just pull that forward.
Yep, so it comes out with everything else. Now when you start cutting in here, there's a bladder sac. You don't want to rupture that. Be careful. Then a lot of fat. Now get your fingers in here, and we're going to take the gut hook, pull down. This part is going to get messy. That's why your hand's supposed to be in it. So now that we get the inside, we're going to cut it loose from the ribs back here. Get all this, and it should just roll out best we can. Because we didn't shoot it in the harder lungs, it shouldn't be a mess. Shouldn't be. We'll see. Lucky. pull the esophagus out with it.
You said you can pull the esophagus out with it sometimes? Like that?
Like that. We're going to take the flank off, which is up to the ribs here. There's the rib there. So we're going to cut this off. We're going to take the front shoulders off. We're going to take the tenderloins out. We're going to take what's called a back strap on a deer. I don't know what it is on a goat. And then once we get all that cleaned off, we'll cut the ribs off and then separate the back legs. So we will probably just grind this up.
Show me both sides.
There's the outside with the fat on it. That's the inside. There's no bone that connects this. There's just a shoulder blade in here. So you just pull it back. Make sure you get behind the shoulder blade.
How do you know it's behind the shoulder blade?
Huh?
How do you know when it's behind the shoulder blade?
Well, there's a shoulder blade
You
right
feel
there.
it?
Yeah. Cut down like the armpit area. And that's the front shoulder.
I'm gonna tell them about the cooler, how we do it.
The 100 and something quart.
20 quart.
So we have a big 120 quart cooler. Have actually a couple, but we don't live up north, so we can't hang it outside in the cold, and we don't have a cold room yet. So we're just gonna put it on ice. Probably about 5 days. I don't know, maybe 7. So today's Saturday, so we'll probably start working on it next Friday. When you put it on ice, it's gonna melt, sometimes faster if it's warmer. You wanna keep draining that water off and keep replacing the ice on top. You don't want it to sit in all that stuff. Okay, so the tenderloins are on the inside. So here's your spine. Tenderloins are gonna be right here. And this looks like it should be about here to here. Get your finger behind it. Fat off, and then find the spine. Just run you a score. So once you get that bottom piece loose, you run your finger down one side, cut the other side. We're just gonna work our way up. Probably better to cut from the spine side. probably. I don't know if that's part of the tenderloin or if that's part of the leg, but what she's in with the loin, the back strap, whatever you want to call it. I typically go where it stops on the leg and make you a line across it. There's a bone in here. You'll find it when you start cutting across. You have to be under it. Or I should say there's a bone on a deer. As long as you're underneath it, it'll come out. Where your spine is, you go just on the inside of that. Make a cut towards the spine.
Towards the spine or straight down?
Back towards the spine. And your tenderloin, I'm sorry, your loin is going to go almost to the neck area. So, get that area there.
Get on this side again.
I wonder if that was the bone right there. I bet that was the bone. Follow the spine. Okay, so a goat is a little different. So this was actually, I guess, part of something else. There's a bone I was talking about where it sticks out further. So that's where...
It's further down on the goat.
Yeah. So you might just have a big chunk of meat now. Might really make a steak or something out of that. I don't know.
So, if you were doing it again, show me on the side, you'd cut it where instead of where?
I would run my hands down it until I felt that knuckle right there. But you can see on this side it's here. If I try and trim that off. There's a bone that sticks out right here. You probably see on this side better. It indents. I guess that would be the hips, maybe. So I would feel down it until you felt that knuckle. So here, right underneath it is, you can actually see it sticking out right there. But we're learning. So this, I'm gonna go deeper now. Once you get it, it'll start peeling. Again, I am not a butcher. So if you have experience and you have tips, let us know. We get down here where the ribs are. We're gonna make a cut. Stay as close as you can to the bone. when it starts getting down into the neck area where it's going. You got probably close to 2 foot.
And do you cut that white fat off later?
Yeah, we'll trim all that off. All that fat will come off. I'm right-handed, so this side goes a lot faster. I'm gonna take the saw and I'm gonna cut through the bottom, the brisket area, all the way down to the neck, and then we're gonna cut the ribs off for the McWilly. See if it'll. Yeah. Feels like cartilage. On deer, that's a lot tougher. So.
All right, y'all, that is that.
Yep, so we'll throw some ice on it now. Probably 25 pounds or so. And then we'll dispose of this stuff way out in the woods.
And then when he's ready to process the meat in about a week, I'm gonna try to make a video on like the cuts of meat and how he does it and packages it and what he grinds and all that stuff. So, all right. Thanks for hanging out with us today while we did our first goat. Till next time, keep on the sunny side.